Walker with the right hand gets all the way to Root. And slams it home.
We got a bunch of dogs on this side. We're willing to fight for 40 minutes.
And the Owls will hold on and win the Little East Conference Championship.
Oh boy, what a game!
Welcome to Owls Overtime. It's Thursday, February 22nd, and I'm your host, Tom Rogers. It's the show where we talk everything KSE sports. This week's episode is coming out a day early because the men's basketball team has a semifinal playoff game against Rhode Island College tonight, and I had head coach David Hastings on the podcast. Before the interview, let's recap what's happened so far this week for all the Owls teams. We get to see the men's playoff journey continue tonight, but unfortunately for the women Owls, their playoff run ended short. A late-game lead slipped away, ending what was, in my opinion, a successful season, all things considered. Star player Ariana Murray was injured for the season. Valerie Lutzy continued to shoot the ball well and improve on that front. Bryn Radiola, though, that was the highlight. The freshman was exceptional, setting the free throw record and nearly breaking the single-season scoring record. If you ask me, she's a lock for LEC Rookie of the Year. Coach Boucher has a lot to build around going into next season, so the women's team will be super exciting to watch next fall. The indoor track teams competed in the LEC championships this weekend, where the men placed 5th and the women placed 2nd. The men's lacrosse team is off to an 0-2 start to the season. Andrew Miller and Jack Ansart kept the Owls in competition, with each attacker scoring 3 goals in the 19-11 loss. The swimming and diving teams wrapped up their season at the LEC championships over the weekend, both finishing 3rd. Esports is off to a 3-5 start in the inaugural season, with all 3 wins coming from the Rocket League team. That's all the action so far from this week, so let's get hyped for this basketball game against Rhode Island College tonight by kicking things off with my interview with Coach Hastings. All right, I'm now joined with coach of the Keene State basketball team, the men's basketball team, that is David Hastings. Coach, firstly, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I appreciate having me over.
So I've only done 4 episodes so far. I haven't had any repeat guests. And when someone comes on for the first time, I sort of like to get their road to Keene State story, what brought you here, if you will. I know you spent about, I think it's 7 seasons working with the team before being head coach. I read that you had a great deal of high school basketball experience, coaching high school basketball.
Yep.
So in as long or abridged of a version as you'd like, what has brought you here as the head coach of the men's basketball team?
Well, actually, while I was a high school coach, one of my players was recruited up here and played for Rob Colbert. Bless him. And, I developed a relationship with Rob then in Keene State itself. I started running some AAU basketball tournaments up here, raising money for the men's program. And as I got done coaching the high school level, Ryan Kane was up here then. And Ryan approached me and said, would you be interested in coming up here and getting on my staff? And after doing so many years of high school, that had always been a goal of mine to get into the college level. I wasn't sure when I'd be able to do it, and it was a great opportunity and a great time for me.
Well, speaking of Coach Kane, on the first episode a few weeks back, I was talking with Marty Testo, and we were talking about why it was a natural fit to have you take over. You were already assistant coach. You've worked with this group of guys. You're immersed in Owls culture. What sort of insight can you provide on how the transition of head coach went for you personally and for the team as a whole? Marty and I seem to think it's going well because, once again, the guys are atop the LEC and they're nationally ranked.
Yeah, so I had a hand in recruiting basically everybody that's here. I was a recruiting coordinator for the last 3 years, so I spent a lot of time on the road getting to know these guys, not only them as basketball players, but as people, and getting to know their families. So it was pretty natural to take over. I will say the difference has been being the final word on different things that happen in a basketball program. And it's far more involved being the head coach when it comes to the academic and the social life up here than it was when I was the associate head coach.
Well, continuing to focus on that head coaching role, does it feel different being in the shoes of head coach for this run in the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. There's Ryan and I talk minimum once a week, sometimes more. And he kind of chuckles about the amount of times that I said to him, I wouldn't do that, I'd do this. And now I'm virtually doing many of the same things that he was doing or in the same ways. Just it's viewed differently once you're on, it's seriously 36 inches of a difference. I'm on one side of the desk to the other now. And sitting in the chair on that side of the desk, I got to make some different decisions.
Yeah, so that pressure is quite elevated now that even from assistant coach to head coach, those decisions are weighing a lot more on you, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's pressure in the sense that, I'm blessed to have this. So I don't look at a lot of the areas of pressure. I spent 34 years in law enforcement, and I think some of those things were really pressure. At the end of the day, it's a basketball game. As much as I love to win and I want our guys to all win, I want them to understand that this isn't life and death, and that they're going to, go to bed that night and get up the next morning and continue to try to get better at whatever they choose to do in life.
Well, not to stray too far away from your road to becoming head coach here, you just mentioned your a great deal of experience in law enforcement. Did that have a impact on your leadership abilities and what's made you a solid coach?
I do believe it's a lot about the leadership that I do in my leadership traits. I spent 4 years in the military prior to the law enforcement career, and I was a sergeant in the 82nd Airborne Division, and then I became, a police officer at University of Amherst, UMass at Amherst. So I worked at a big community there, and then I went to a small town where I was the chief for 24 years. So yeah, a lot of leadership training in my life, a lot of different ways to deal with people, and more than anything else, I think my communication skills are very well.
And you were doing that at the same time as like high school coaching?
Correct.
And what about Keene? Were you ever involved with law enforcement while you were here at Keene State?
No, I actually retired in 2017 from law enforcement, and that's when I came up here.
Gotcha. So was law enforcement always the main plan career-wise, or was coaching something you had always considered?
I always wanted to coach. Law enforcement was something that, when I got out of the military, it was a job that was offered. I was married. I had a child already, and I knew I needed to have a full-time job and benefits, so forth and so on for a family. And but I coached my kids all through their young lives, all the different sports that they did. So yes, coaching was a major factor of what I wanted to do.
Well, I'm sure you were paying attention to the games yesterday. It's been determined we'll be playing Rhode Island College again, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I know we still have to get through them, but at the end of the regular season loss against WestCon, in the post-game interview, you said, "There's a likelihood we play them again in the LEC tournament." I love that attitude from my team's coach. Now, obviously, you want to be in the championship no matter what, but would you prefer to be playing them to get that win back?
Yeah, I think that no matter how you look at the league, us and WestCon are like a cut above. Although Dartmouth did beat WestCon once during the regular season, but they just played last Saturday night, and WestCon beat them by 25 or so. I do believe that WestCon is the next best team, and I would like to play them in championship as long as the everything falls the way it should.
Well, I don't want to dwell too much on that loss. I was there in person. It felt like shots weren't going our way, and ultimately we ended up only losing by 3 after being down quite a bit at one point. I think notably, though, Spencer Aronson wasn't playing in that game, and when you're talking about a team that wasn't shooting well on a particular night and you're missing arguably your best three-point shooter, what do you think we win that night if we have Spencer in the game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to win a game. I don't think any one particular player makes a win or a loss. I think there's a lot of things that happen throughout the game. I will say we were down 17 points. It was a great comeback that we made. We shot the lowest percentage we'd shot all year long from the field at 31%. Typically, we shoot 46% for the year. We also shot 62% from the free throw line, and we're a 74, 75% team. So, a couple more baskets by the guys that were there make a difference, but certainly Spencer has the ability to stretch a court and then open up some lanes for whether it's O driving the lane or Jeff to finish around the hoop. Yeah, Spencer makes a difference in all those games.
Well, like I said, right now the focus is Rhode Island College, who you guys have played twice this season, and you beat them respectively by 10 and 21 in those matchups. Having played them and won twice, is the game plan changing at all for a playoff game? Or
no? In fact, the notes from last Saturday's game, I read on a board down in the locker room before the game the different factors that we want to think about during the game, and those notes are still on the board because I thought there was a great likelihood we'd be playing them again, and I just left them up, and I said, okay, there's going to be a couple small adjustments that we do, but nothing major, and it was we actually were up 16 points toward the end of the game down in Rhode Island. They hit a couple threes at the end of the game that were really nothing, and then up here it was 29 points that we beat them by.
Well, here's to hoping everything goes well in the LEC tournament with the team. You guys are once again nationally ranked, one of the best teams in D3. Are you thinking ahead about the NCAA tournament at all, or is that not on your mind yet?
No, I'm a true believer of the next game is the most important game you got to play. I mean, obviously, I know we're going to qualify for the NCAA tournament. I try not to look at all the there's all sorts of projections on where you're going to be, and I think if we win out, we host the first weekend, which is great. So the first 2 games I think we'd host here. I think Keene is just a phenomenal area when we host. The crowd is fantastic. The community loves it. It's a really good deal here.
So something I talked about with another guest was it was with JJ LeBlanc, who conducts the post-game interviews with you over at Spalding Gym. And we talked about the inevitable change coming for this team. It's Jeff's last season, Alonzo's last season. And pretty soon we'll probably be seeing the departure of guys like Baptiste, Brito, Aronson. And those are huge names. But we're not worried about the program at all. We think that the success of the team is just continuing to attract more talent. And I think that's very apparent in a guy like Wesley Odiase. He's made a huge impact as a rookie. What can you say both about your confidence in the program going forward and what sort of impact someone like Wesley has had as a freshman?
Yeah, Wesley's incredible. He's actually playing better and more than I expected or projected him to do. He's simply an animal when it comes to going to get the ball, which is fantastic for a freshman to be that confident. The program is in great hands. Our recruiting is going very well. We have 5 guys that have already committed to come in next year. And I think those 5 guys are actually going to push a lot of the guys that we have now. Yeah, we're a program that's out there and people see us. And I think there are a lot of people that want to come and play for us. I spend a lot of time telling people, I'm sorry, we don't have a slot for you. And I love it. I love the fact that when the guys come in, they know how hard they have to work. Anything you get, you're going to earn. Nothing is given to you. And it's not just about the court. It's about being in the classroom and doing the right things and being good community members. And I don't expect to get phone calls about guys doing stuff wrong away from the court when they're away from me.
Well, I think that's apparent in a leader like Jeff Hunter. He's so great as a basketball player, but I think I've heard you say it before, and others, of course. It's not just who he is as a basketball player, it's who he is as a person. So you said you got 5 guys locked in to come here?
That's correct.
Is there anything you can tell us about them or who they are, or is that not something that can be brought to the public yet?
No, I mean, a lot of them guys put it out on their own social media. We don't say anything until they actually pay their deposit.
Fair.
Which is kind of the protocol that needs to be done.
I got you. All right. Well, kind of sticking on that topic of the seniors, Jeff and Alonzo, on senior night, you were asked post-game what you could say about the departing seniors, Jeff, Alonzo, and, of course, Nikki Knaps. Because this isn't a post-game interview, it's a podcast. You have all the time in the world here. What can you say about those guys, not just as players, who they are as people, why they've been so important to both you, the team, the community, anything like that?
Well, let's talk with Zoe first. So Zoe's the kind of kid that I recruited out of high school, like I said that night, and he chose the junior college route. A lot of kids do that. They are working for that scholarship, and sometimes it just doesn't happen for them. So he spent a couple years, he was in Louisiana, then he was in South Dakota. We finally got him here, and he spent last year working on the academics because he needed to get some things done. He only had one year of eligibility left to play. So he practiced with us every day last year. Now, there's a kid that's committed and really trying to make other guys on the team better. And when he stepped in this year, you can see what an asset he would have been if we had him for 4 years. And I'm not lying. I mean, I would have loved to have coached him for 4 years. We didn't get that opportunity. It's only 1 year doing this. It's really 2 years of coaching, but 1 year of getting to play. He's 6'5". He's long, and yet he's got all guard skills.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's a matchup nightmare for other teams. And when we were out in South Dakota, the coach from Stockton said to me, we know what Octavio and Jeff are going to do. Zoe was the guy that they were worried about. Zoe was the guy they were planning on because he is a wild card. There's some days where he just gets really hot. And, what do you do with him then? So that's him. And he's just a great kid, too. Parts of his life are not known by everybody. And, I respect him so much for the fact that he's getting his degree and he's playing ball. And I think he's going to play overseas. I really do. I think he's got that ability. And I'm going to help him any way that I can.
I'd be stoked to see that because you said you wish you had more time coaching him. I wish as a fan and as a Keene State student, I got to see more of him because he's had some serious highlights this year. I want to say it was 2 weeks ago or so against, Vermont State Castleton. He had this coast-to-coast dunk that was just so nice. And then I think he had the next 2 threes for you guys.
Yeah.
He can go, you're right, he can absolutely turn the heat on. He's so fun to watch.
He had a great, powerful dunk against WestCon.
Yeah.
He came down the lane untouched and just elevated.
Got the crowd back into it, which we needed.
And I'll tell you what, the little kids that come to the games, they love Zoe. I don't know how they all gravitate to him. My wife comes and takes pictures. She's always running around down on the baseline. And she's an amateur photographer, but she's really good at it. And she's got some great pictures of Zoe signing the back of some kids' shirts, and just the look on their faces when he's doing that. Another little boy, Zoe and I were getting a picture together, and this little boy said, "Coach, can I play one-on-one against him?" And I'm just like, I guess you could. But, yeah, so he's a special guy. And, I mean, he relates really well with everybody.
He's got that larger-than-life kind of feel to him, sort of like Jeff Hunter.
Yeah. And Jeff, it's funny because you can just go from one extreme to another. I mean, his basketball, everybody knows about him. You know, across the country, people hear about Jeff. There's not a lot of people that have double-doubles like Jeff. I mean, he set the record last year in the NCAA, and that's all of it. That's Division I as well. You know, Jeff's a walking double-double, and that's the way it is. He's going to leave Keene with more records than people even think about, more records than I think about, because he's just been here with us. And his family's the same way. You know, when I said that I went to all of his games his senior year, I was sitting with one of his aunts the other night after the game, and she said, "I just remember you being an ass a bit high all the time." And I'm like, we were sold. We wanted Jeff Hunter, and he knew it. Ryan actually saw him first. Ryan was playing in a men's league and saw Jeff.
Oh, wow.
And then he told me, and so I started making contact with him, and it was another assistant coach, Nick Magyar, that was here, and it was either Nick or I every game. Like I said, we were there for his 1,000 points. We were there for everything he did his senior year. And the relationship we have with his family is just incredible. So, again, he's that type of player in basketball. But when you start looking at the off-court stuff, you know, anywhere Jeff goes, he's more than happy to talk with anybody or sit with any young children to talk to him. He does a lot of the community service type stuff. I was talking to him the other day, and he was making a donation to it was on a GoFundMe page for underprivileged college athletes. And, you know, that's something Jeff's doing out of his own. It's not like he's asking his parents to give him money for him to donate.
Yeah, and he's not flaunting that.
No, and he works. You know, he does a like an insurance. He does calls. You know, he buys numbers and calls people, and he sets up insurance for them. He's just a great kid.
Yeah, he's awesome. And how about Nick? Nicky Naps.
Nicky has been a kid that's such a great development through his years here. You know, and if you talk about just the personal challenges he's had, like we mentioned the other night, not everyone knew he was a cancer survivor, but anybody within the program knows that. And, you know, a lot of the medications he took a toll on his body physically. And in the last year, Nicky's lost 75 to 85 pounds, just deciding that, you know, okay, all the medication is gone now. He's cancer-free, and he's gonna make the best version of himself. You know, he eats right, he exercises every day. You know, and you can see the change in Nicky, and it's not just the physical part, it's the mental part. You know, I don't know anybody that knows all the players that he does. And the fact that he wants to be a coach so bad, he's learning from all aspects of it. I mean, he came here as a manager, and, you know, don't ever underestimate what a manager does on these D3 college teams. I mean, they're doing the laundry at night after we get back. You know, so we return from a game at 1 a.m. They're down there doing the laundry so the guys have it clean for the next day. And that's just the least amount of what they're doing. You know, they're there before and after every practice. Nicky talks about his first year here. I had him carrying 4 bags at a time. I don't know if I remember him carrying 4, but, you know, he was the manager. Now he's a student assistant coach, and he does a great job at that. You know, he comes into practice. He's got a whistle in his hand. I make sure he has a whistle. And, you know, you have to learn how to talk to everybody too. And the fact is, you know, you're their age. So he's got a challenge. You know, you can't go out on the town with your buddies because you're a coach. You know, so you have to understand that there's a difference between, you have to draw that line sometimes about what you're doing.
He's such a fascinating character.
Character is a great way to describe him.
Yeah. No, he's kind of he's an enigma. He's awesome. I'm a journalism student. I had a fellow journalism classmate do a story on him last semester. Ended up watching it. Everyone in it, because it's mostly guys from the basketball team, of course.
Yeah.
They speak just so highly of him, and it makes me think, based on some of the stuff you just said, maybe some other D3 schools are missing a Nicky Naps. Like, it's not just the head coach and the players. A guy like him is making a huge difference that sometimes people probably aren't seeing.
They're definitely missing him. Any school that doesn't have someone like a Nicky Naps, they're missing out. And it's not just what he does there. It's in the off season when he's out, you know, in the recruiting world. he's seen in the gym all the time. It does help that his dad is one of the number one officials in New England. So, they're at a lot of tournaments and things like that. And Nicky can just see different people. And then he gets their name and number, and we start communicating with them. We see where it goes from there.
So looking forward, because like I said, we're losing all three of those guys, as mentioned. But Octavio Brito is arguably, once Jeff leaves, he's going to be kind of that focal point, I would think. He's probably the biggest star in the LEC, I'd say, after Jeff. What are you expecting out of him and just some of the other leaders of the team once you do lose Jeff and Alonzo?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, does Octavio actually step up to another level now that Jeff is gone? Because any of the people that we're bringing in aren't going to be the offensive factor that Jeff is. And, can they rebound the way Jeff does? So I think O's got another level to get to, and I think he will. The fact that he's going to be surrounded still with, Nate doing a fifth year because of COVID, Mason doing a fifth year because of COVID, Spencer coming back. Our nucleus is all here. Yes, I understand that Alonzo's gone and Jeff is gone. And you don't just replace people like that. You just hope to find some pieces to add to what we have. So we're going to still be a very veteran team. And we may do some things differently offensively and defensively based on what we're missing. But, I think a kid like Wesley and Isaac can certainly step up. And Isaac is 6'8", 6'9". I mean, he's got some long arms.
I have a class with Isaac.
Okay.
You don't miss him.
He's a rim protector. So, I mean, I'm not sure that Jeff's going to leave and people are going to go, oh, we can attack the rim now on Keene State. Wesley's really physical. Isaac's really long. We have some great pieces still. I don't see us dropping a whole lot. I mean, I think we're always going to be at the top of the LEC competing. When Marty hired me, he had a meeting with all the coaches, which was good because he was a new AD. And he asked where I saw us. I said, we're always going to be on the top three at the minimum. If we're not, then I'm doing something wrong.
I love that energy from Marty, and it's to circle back to Marty. That's something we talked about in our episode, is that because of the success of the men's basketball team, that's going to attract more talent to not just the basketball team, to every other sport. So I think Keene State, I told him, I think he got handed the keys at the perfect time to be the athletic director. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. And forgive me for not knowing this. Is Isaac is he a freshman?
Yes.
So you have some big guys to build around with Jeff leaving that can kind of, in a two-person way, fill in those shoes. Because, I mean, like we said, you don't just replace Jeff or Alonzo.
Correct. And one of the guys coming in is a 6'8" guy. So, I mean,
exciting.
We're doing really well. It's, again, we can be choosy on who we recruit. And we can, almost be aggressive in a sense of saying, look, either you want to come to Keene or you don't, because I don't need to chase you. Either you want to come to us because of what we have, our culture, our habits, our the fact that we win year in and year out because of the way the guys want to work. It's up to you.
Absolutely. And not to harp on this topic too much more, it's just been a terrific start to your tenure as head coach. What are your aspirations for the men's basketball program moving forward after this season?
Well, I mean, I think you never start over. We might rebuild, but I think our expectation is to continue to stay on the top of the LEC, continue to make a run in the NCAA. Obviously, our goal this year is a national championship. And, can we continue to that level? I mean, we're still going to be a real veteran team. I fully intend to be here for a number of years going forward. I live locally. I love the area. I love coming to Keene. I love bringing my wife up here to go out to eat to the restaurants. And, the relationship with the school, with the athletic director is phenomenal. I think the aspirations are to continue to do what we're doing right now.
Well, I think I speak for everyone at Keene State saying we can't wait for another LEC championship and hopefully another real deep NCAA tournament run. Is there anything else you'd like to plug or add?
No, I just hope that everybody comes out on Thursday night to support us. We're having a whiteout. And then on Saturday, I don't know which color they were going. I had mentioned a blackout. Somebody else had said something about a red out. I mean, whatever. I just want I want the crowd there. I want the vibe going. I know what we have to offer here as a school. I know our student body comes out there to support us. And it makes it really hard for an opposing team to come in here and get anything going when we're so loud and just getting after it.
Well, I know I'll be there. I can't wait to see it. Thanks again for being on, Coach.
Absolutely.
Looking ahead at the Owls' schedule, as you all know, it's a whiteout at Spalding Gymnasium tonight where we take on Rhode Island College in Keene's quest for a three-peat of the LEC Championship. Women's lacrosse has its season opener at home tomorrow, and men's lacrosse is on the road to Wentworth Saturday. Esports continues to have matches every Monday and Tuesday and Thursday. That does it for this week's Owls Overtime. As always, go Owls.